What we're going to do is make these scoops. There was, just after things started going online, this has been maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, there was a thing that opened up called the Woodworking Channel. And it was something you could, they had a lot of videos and stuff. I'm not sure that the videos were quite legal in the fact that what they had is a number of the videos from the demonstrations that were done at the AEW symposium that was in Orlando. Okay, they happen to have several of them, one by Soren Berger, one by Michael Mosho. And since I knew Michael, I asked him, were you aware that this was on the web? And no, they totally were not. So I don't know how they got it, I don't know. But it was a legitimate site and was open for about a year. But I was pretty fascinated by the Soren Berger demo. So he did this in Orlando, and he made these kinds of scoops. And the story is he made them 20 years ago, had it on in his kitchen, and just didn't do anything with it. 20 years later, Bonnie Klein happened to be staying at his house, saw it, and said, I love it. And so he was he had a demo to do for his club that night, and he said, I haven't done one in 20 years, let's do another one. So that night he did it, and then he did it for the symposium. I'm going to pass one of them around just so you can see it. It's kind of interesting because it's got 3 centers. All right, and that's really the trick to it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have the next step already to put in a jig if it takes me a little longer than I think. But anyway, the first thing I want to do is, actually I don't even have to get it in the truck. Just make sure that we've got a nice true cylinder. So not too tough. First thing I'm going to do is measure the diameter of this, because what I have to do is turn a cylinder, or turn a ball, a sphere. Okay? So the ball, the sphere becomes the cup, and then we start doing the offsets here. Mark where the end of the sphere is going to go. Mark a little on this side. I'm not going to go down very far because I have to do some prep on this side too for the handle side. All right, so now it's a matter of turning a sphere. So there's all kinds of ways you can do this. Keith did some specialization in spheres for a while, turning quite a few of them. We've had people that have turned them with jigs and all of that. But the idea is you start nibbling away, and I'll show you the tool I use to tell if I'm being round or not. So the movement is the same as I'm making a bead. This is the thing we have more trouble teaching the kids at Safe Harbor than anything, and in fact I think it's for beginners, it's one of the toughest concept for them to get around, and that is that the tool does not cut where the tool is pointed. The tool cuts where the bevel is pointed. This is the bevel. So we have so many kids that think that they're turning a bead by going like this because their movement is rounded. But if you look at where the bevel is pointed here, and always at the bottom of the sphere, the bevel has to be pointing straight in, because that's how you get the rounded bottom. So when you're doing a sphere, it's that same concept. This is just a big bead. So if you see where I'm ending that cut, that bevel's pointing this way, all right? And that's kind of what you got to do. Now, if you're really clever, some people can do that with a skew. I can't do really big ones with a skew. Okay, now, the way I can tell if this is round is I'm using, this is just a, what, 1 1/4 inch copper fitting, but you can use anything that's kind of shaped like this. And what you want to do is put that on that surface, and if it is round, because this is a round surface and hollow, it'll sit there flat, it won't rock. So that's not rocking. And if I come down the side, that's actually pretty good. You can see that it's rocking just a little bit. So that means that right in here, I have a little bit of a high spot. Okay? And right there, you see it's rocking a lot. And that means I have a high spot right there. You can actually see it. All right? So I know where my high spots are, so you just come around and take those away. Let's see if we've done any better. Pretty good. No, I still have a little more there. And the reason you have to get a pretty good job at getting a real sphere out of this is the jig we're going to use to hold it to hollow. Just a little bit. Okay, and I'm just using a detailed spindle gouge. Okay, now I'm going to turn it on the other side. And I know where I have to end. That parting line is where I need to end this thing. Too bad. Have a bump in there. I'm going to clear some of this away. I'm going to take this down to about 1 1/4 inch. Okay, I'm rocking now, so I have to take some out in there. Yeah, that's better, and there's a high spot right here, so let me just take care of that. Okay, that's pretty good. So, because this is going to be offset, this is the only chance you have to sand that the cylinder. Works really great. 120. It's not really my favorite sandpaper either. I usually use, I do have a little bit more. The 3M's Triple X. I'm not going to do much sanding on it, but once you get past here, you can't go back. Okay. So now I have to decide where am I going to put the cup. All right. So on these, I've done all of these so that I have them on the middle of the face grain. So I'll take a look around and, you know, do I like it here or over on the side? If I do it on the side, I have the face grain on both sides. But I think right here is where I'm going to cut the cup out. So what I need to do is move this about 3/8 of an inch. All right? And so I'm moving it up from where it was towards the place I'm going to cut.
Moving the center up.
Yeah, I've gone from, here is the first center, and now I'm right here. I'm going to put in a third center that's right there. All right, but right now I'm turning on that one.
And that was how high in the 3?
It's about 3/8 of an inch. All right? Got to make sure that it turns free. A little closer. So what I'm going to do here right now, I'm trying to make a couple of things. I'm trying to make this collar right here around here. I'm going to keep on cutting this back till it becomes like this. I'm going to come down from in here to try and make this curve, and then I'm going to cut a bead. All right, and that'll give me this basic shape right in here. I want this, as you can see, it's fairly thin, so I want to take this down still quite a bit more. And I want to come back towards the bowl, so I make this a little bit more subtle, a little bit less bold. So you can see now that's a lot closer to that end. That's kind of how I want it to look. I'm going to now come down from this side. I'm going to come down here and kind of join up with this diameter, and then I'll turn a bead in there and then turn and approach to both sides of that bead. Okay, I'm going to turn a bead in here. So far over the rest right now. I like to use a little smaller rest that allows me to get in a little closer. Okay, so there's my bead, all right? Again, this is the last time the only time I can really stand it. Now, I don't like that profile. You see what happens in this profile? It does a pretty hard break right here. I don't like that. So I'm going to come back and make this sweep. I want to make this sweep nice and sweet. All right? Okay, that's a little better. There's still a little bump right here. Okay, let me sand that. Okay, let's pretend I've done a really nice job sanding that. And now I'm going to move it for my third time. All right, and so now I'm going up in the same line. All right. So now I'm going to make this back part, all right, and I'm going to cut away this finger relief where your finger goes to grab it. And this is where you have some real design options. You can make this like these, pretty well swept and kind of steep. That's kind of how I like them. You can make this longer and more rounded, okay? So there's still a flat up here, so I'm going to keep on cutting it back. Still just a hair. One more pass there. Now, as you know, because this is multi-access, a good chunk of that cut is in air, all right? So this is really a time when you have to you're controlling the tool, not letting the tool follow the wood. You're controlling where the tool is held so the wood comes into the tool, okay? So you're just cutting away what you want, because if you followed it, every time there's a gap, your gouge would go in, and that isn't going to do what you need it to do. All right, and now I'm going to cut a little bit of that finger notch. And this is almost all in here. And there you go. So that's just a cove, okay? So this whole thing, sometimes wonder why we stress so much for a beginner the concept of beads and coves. But this thing so far has been a big bead, a little bead, another bead, and a cove. That's all it is. There's not even any straights on this one. So I want to get rid of this. This got a little break right here. Okay. I'll get rid of some of this. once again, this is the only time I can sand. A little harder to sand that notch. Like I said, most of that is air. And that's the easy part. It is. So now I'm going to cut this off, and I could probably, no, I can't go back here anymore. I could probably knock off a little bit of that. But if you're going to cut a sphere off a sphere, don't just cut it like this. Cut it at an angle. Because if you cut it square off, it's sometimes hard to really estimate where that end of that sphere really should be. Okay? There we go. So now we got dimples at the end. Well, how do we get rid of those? A little easier. I'll put it in this end. Over here. Okay, so I just put this in the Jacob's chuck. Got to sand that off, kind of following the profile that I've established. And this is a hard pad. I'm going to take that off. That's actually a double soft. I have a soft interface on top of this. Right now, all I really need is that. And at the class I was, oh, this is going to be more than an effort than I thought. I'm not going to use these right now. I think I have some more in here. Anyway, at my class, they were really touting the merits of this ceramic, purple ceramic sandpaper. I was using it all week, and I have to say it was pretty impressive. I thought I had some extra discs. What grit do you need? 120 would be nice. And the the only reason I'm going to this next step is that I want to show you that if you do it first with the hard one and then follow it up with the soft one, you can really get a pretty good, I'll just use this. Never mind, Jim. Never mind, Jim. I mean, this is pretty coarse paper here right now. But I'll sand this one more when I get home. Okay. So that's the piece, all right? And that's ready to go to the next step. The next step is really, for me, the more complicated one, and that's hollowing it, all right? So, but I'll pass this around. So this, because that's the only one I have, is 80 grit, all right? So that's pretty rough. But you can feel that it's not too hard to sand that nub away to give you a pretty good smooth cylinder, or sphere, sorry. All right, let's go on to the next step. I'm all right. I'm all right. Okay, now, what we need to do is create a way to chuck this to hollow it, all right? And there are a couple of different ways. The Soren uses, I need a wrench to take off the insert.
Look up.
I don't know if that'll work. Maybe. No. Yeah. Oh, wait a second. No, I need to put the chuck on. So that's okay. We're all right. That's pretty with the insert on there. Anyway, what I need to do is, well, because I was going to talk about some other things. What you can do is that there are new jaws you can get for this kind of chuck, or any kind of chuck, that actually screws on here and is basically a quarter round, about this big. All right, it's just a plate. So it's like a pie. If you say this is the chuck, this is where your screws go. Actually, the chuck is really only this big. Okay? Once you have these screws in, this creates a plate about this big around that now can open and close the amount that the chuck jaws can open and close. On this, you can mount wood. Say I take a piece of wood 3 inches thick. I can just, these also have now holes all around here, where I can put a piece of wood on it, cut that wood into quarters, and now I've got a wooden jaws that come out about this far. All right? Yeah. Nope, that's not going to do it.
Not a cold draw?
No. This is from the back, and these, so from the side, here's your chuck, and with the adapter, here's those steel plates, and now you can have wooden jaws that are thick, all right? And so what I can do with that is this same as I can do with this, and this is a jam chuck, all right? So what I would do for this is I would take that sphere that's going around, or the scoop that's going around, I'd measure it, all right? I'd take it over here and start to excavate a hole, all right? And so what I want to do is I want to get that hole so it is just slightly smaller than the piece, all right? And I want it to be a tight fit, and it can go pretty much straight down. It doesn't have to be you know, mimic the curve of the sphere. All right, and I would mount that on here. I take that, I have these in expansion mode. Okay, so there's my cup, and I would take that and I'd work at this till I get it so that when I take that piece I just did, the solid one, and get it in here, all right, I can get it all lined up, and I take a hammer or another piece of wood and just whack it, and it goes right into that hole, all right, if I've done it the right size. Now this is one you really have to sneak up on, okay? You go a little bit too big, you go get another piece of wood and start all over again, all right? The other thing is, this is one I made a while ago. This one's a little egg-shaped, you may be able to tell, all right? This one won't go in a chuck like this, all right? It's not round enough. There's a round hole, this needs to be round. This one leaves a gap on both sides, all right? I'll never get it to drive in there and hold, all right? So I think that one would work. That one looked pretty good, but in lieu of going through all of that fitting, I made another one of these before I left for Campbell, all right? And I just whacked that in. And it's in there, as Soren says, you hit it once and twice more. And it'll be seated in there pretty well. He normally uses green wood. If you use dry wood, he recommends just putting a little moisture around there and holding it in. I'm feeling that this one's in reasonable shape.
Especially for the people down front.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to guess at this. Okay, so that's about right for this diameter, which means I'm going to drill this out in a second. That's another thing you really want to make sure is that everything's clear. If I'm going to drill a hole, I really like to start with a dimple. Now I'm going to drill that, and okay, I'm going to compensate for the wall thickness I want. And actually, let's see if I can. Oh, I know what I'll use. Couldn't find any tape just as I was leaving. You know how it is, I have everything that I have in my shop in the back of the van and took the camera. You never know what you're going to use. Yeah. So theoretically, this should give me a hole that will leave me 1/4 of an inch of wood on the bottom. Okay. So I've got a hole drilled. And now I'm back to my spindle gouge.
One thing you're gonna do, again, shut for everyone.
Yeah, well, the trick is make your scoops bigger each time. Then you can cut this a little bit bigger.
Quarter cup, yeah, cup.
That needs to come down just a little bit. Now, there are a couple of parts in this that get to be pretty critical. Let me show you on one of these is done. As you can see, you cut into the handle, all right? So I just hit it, all right? But if I don't go cut some more of that away, I'm going to have a very small mouth to that scoop, all right? So I have to keep on making that bigger. As I make it bigger, I'm going to cut more and more of this away. But I don't want to cut it all away.
Switch camera to that one.
I couldn't hear you.
Can you switch it? Okay, thank you.
I'm really hitting it now. definitely want to keep this message in mind. Knuckles, fingers behind the wrist. Okay, I'm within about 3/16 of the bottom. So I want to feel how is my curve. You know, does it kind of mimic that sphere? And no, it doesn't. There's still part right in this corner here where it doesn't match up. Okay, that's getting pretty close. Yeah, I'm thin up here. I need to do just down there, and we'll call it olive enough. Going to be about this one more stick. Last the cup. Okay. So does anybody want to come up and sand this for me inside? Yeah, nobody ever says yes. I mean to cut it. You can.
Yeah, that's what
Depending on how brave you are, you can give it a try. It's rough. If I can, okay, I prefer to cut as much of that out with a gouge. Now, the trouble is, when I do one like this for a goblet or something, what's the standard way you cut, all right? You go into the center and you pull out. Well, you're pulling the bowl, potential to pull the bowl out as well. So that's why I tend not to do that, but there are issues. And I'm not going in very far. So Bob, avert your eyes. Hey Ed? Yeah. Remember the AEW intro? Yeah. Okay. So all I'm doing is just getting a little bit here. What I do at home when I get to that spot, if I had one of those ball and sanders, that would be the thing to use, okay?
Blow up ball.
Yeah, one of those, there's some of them that are where they're hard and you just have a Velcro surface on them and you use your regular Velcro stuff. But that's why I brought this, the double salt. Because you can get I guess, no. Well, you can edit that out. I've done that at home quite a few times, but this time, I don't know what hit. I didn't see anything hit. Didn't feel anything hit. But something must have hit. Because it took off the handle. I mean, there isn't much holding the handle here. This is a, you know, you've cut away. Yeah, I mean, it's a clean cut.
Murphy jumped up on the ledge.
Yeah. And I will, you can't see it.
sand now.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what I'm gonna
There's living the dark side.
do. But, so anyway, I will glue this back together. I don't know what happened there. It's, actually,
Landed first,
but because I scraped it, it's pretty rough inside, okay? And so, I take some more time, really work at sanding this through the grit, because the outside's easy to sand because you cut it with a gouger. But inside, because you've scraped it, it's gonna be a little tougher. So, yeah, I'll glue that back together. And that's another thing, when you're done, you don't want to take it off by pulling the handle, all right? Because that same thing will happen.
Not that you've ever done it.
I'm listening to Uncle Soren. And there it comes out, okay? And that's how it would work, all right? So not quite finished. I don't know what the heck happened there.
Oh, you're finished, all right.
Yeah. But I think that's a pretty nice shape.
Yeah.
And it's not too tough. There's a lot of cutting of air to get all of these curves and everything else. So, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting this a nice profile. I can feel that there's still some places. I did this awful fast. I usually do this a little bit more carefully. Inside to get that nice and smooth. You can see they all follow pretty thin wall and follow the contour of the outside. All right? So that's it. First and all.